From The National, this is Trending Middle East. I'm Yasmin Al-Taji. It's Friday, July 11th. Here are today's headlines. OPEC's World Oil Outlook 2050 report is out, and it's raised its forecasts for world oil and energy demand for the medium and long term. Global oil demand is projected to expand by nearly 19% to reach 123 million barrels per day by 2050, according to the report. Overall energy demand in the long term is expected to increase by 23% to reach 378 million barrels of oil equivalent per day by 2050. But at the same time, it reduced its oil demand forecast for the next 4 years on Chinese demand concerns. This will be driven by a number of factors, according to Haytham Al-Ghais, Secretary General of OPEC, who spoke to The National on Thursday.
So we have to differentiate between the noise and the news and the headlines versus the realities we see. Let's remember, we're now in Q3 in July. This is the peak usually of when refining runs around the world go to their highest levels. Demand, traveling season, we're in the midst of the US driving season, which is a huge, source of gasoline demand strength. Refining margins all over the world are really good.
Here's The National's Manus Cranny with more from the summit in Vienna.
One clear message at this OPEC seminar in Vienna, which was chill. Chill, baby, chill. And don't worry about drill, baby, drill. That was a message in terms of concern about non-OPEC supply materially building. And at the same time, a message. Demand is strong. Demand is firm. We're in the peak driving season. And so therefore, OPEC can and will continue to add back these barrels from the special group of V8.
The U.S. withdrawal from the Paris Agreement is also expected to result in higher demand for hydrocarbons in general and oil and gas in particular. Meanwhile, countries outside the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, including India, Africa, and Middle East states, are projected to lead the oil demand growth for both medium and long-term forecast periods.
When it comes to the risks associated with Iran and Israel, well, we've just come off a 12-day serious conflict. Helima Croft, the head of commodities over at RBC, she had a very clear take on this, which was, for now, Iran is able to pump and deliver those barrels to China. They are not under maximum pressure. Right now, it would appear that the Trump White House want to push this diplomacy first rather than a full hawkish maximum pressure. But that is the great variable, along with tariffs. Right now, this market can bear the extra barrels. That's the reason why you're not in the $50 zone, and that is why oil is remaining reasonably firm in the face of supply add.
The Syrian government has accused a Kurdish-led and US-backed militia of delays in implementing a March deal to integrate into the country's armed forces. Damascus is warning that inaction would undermine newly found stability. The Syrian Democratic Forces, or SDF, is a mostly Kurdish secular militia. It's emerged as the most powerful rival to Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, or HTS, which has taken central power since the ouster of former President Bashar al-Assad in December. The accusation came after a failed meeting on Wednesday, The National's Khaled Oweis reports.
A main legacy of the Syrian civil war has been the country's Kurdish question. Large areas of Syria, especially in the east, have been for a decade with the Syrian Democratic Forces. Actually, Washington set up the militia in 2015 as the main ground component in the US-led war against ISIS.
Turkey regards the SDF as a national security threat, partly because it has links to the Kurdistan Workers' Party, or PKK. That's a group that's been waging a decades-long insurgency against the Turkish state.
Washington, since it began normalization with the Syrian government in May, has become more involved in trying to bridge differences between the SDF, the Kurdish militia, and Ahmed al-Shara, the president of Syria. Leading the efforts is Thomas Barrak, the US envoy to Syria and at the same time its ambassador to Turkey. Mr. Barrak tried this week to convene a meeting between Ahmed al-Shara, the president, and Mazloum Abdi, the SDF head. This meeting, however, did not materialize, although it was scheduled for Wednesday. It is not immediately known what prompted the collapse of the meeting, although Mr. Abdi was in Damascus and met with Mr. Barak together with senior government officials in the current Syrian administration, bar Mr. Ahmed al-Shara. However, the Syrian government issued a statement overnight blaming the SDF for failure of the talks, and also saying that by not implementing the agreement signed in March, the SDF is contributing to destabilization in Syria. The Syrian government also repeated its rejections of federalism in any form, according to the statement. One SDF official who spoke to the National on condition of anonymity characterized the Syrian government response as an escalation.
Saudi Arabia is updating its rules to allow foreigners to buy property in specific zones. Analysts said it'll encourage long-term expats to invest in homes. It'll also boost the real estate sector and benefit a range of businesses. Non-Saudis will be able to own property in designated areas in Riyadh and Jeddah, with, quote, special requirements, unquote, for ownership in Mecca and Medina. That's according to the state-run Saudi press agency this week. Non-GCC expats would benefit from greater financial security, the ability to build equity over time, and stronger roots in the community, which would encourage longer stays in the kingdom, analysts tell The National. This latest move from Saudi Arabia comes after cities such as Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and Doha designated areas where overseas investors can buy property. That's all for this morning's headlines. You can get these stories and follow our live coverage at our site. Yasmin Al-Taji, The National.